everyone, it's Jen again, and I'm going to show you how to make a plant cozy. For the plant cozy, you need to start with 2 quilt blocks, and you're going to start with 2 pieces of lining. For the lining, you can either use pieces of vinyl or we've gone ahead and used oilcloth. You're going to now attach your quilt blocks and attach your lining. So to attach your quilt blocks, you're going to put right sides facing together, and you're going to stitch on 3 sides only. So you're just going to stitch these together here, here, and here, and you want to leave that top open. And I'll show you that in just a moment. Same thing with your lining. Right sides together, 1/2 inch seam allowance, you want to stitch on 3 sides, leaving that top side open. Now that's going to look something like this when we move over here. So all my 3 sides have been stitched together. My top is open, and I've done the same thing with my lining. All 3 sides have been stitched together, and the top is open. All right, next we need to make a 1.5 by 1.5 inch square on the bottom of the lining and on the bottom of your quilt blocks. I've already done this on the other side, so this is what that's going to look like. And that square again is 1.5 by 1.5. After you make those squares, you want to go ahead and cut them out. And I've done that here already. I've cut them out on my lining, and I've cut them out on my quilt block. And remember, that top part is still open for you here. Now, next, we need to sew our seams together. So you are just going to press or butterfly your seams open, finger press. I prefer using the iron because it makes the edges, makes these seams a bit more crispier, and I like that better, but everybody has their own personal preference. And to put your seams together, you're just going to line up your seams and push. And then you can use pins to pin in place right here. Okay, use pins to pin in place right here, and then what you're going to do is stitch a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now I've done that on the other side here, but I've also trimmed it. So once you stitch that 1/2 inch seam allowance, you want to go ahead and trim, leaving a 1/4 inch of seam allowance. Now it's a little bit different with your lining, because what we want to do with the lining in just a moment is waterproof it. So you do not want to stick any pins in there. Instead, we're going to use a clip. But again, you want to press open your seams, press your seams together. So here's the seams apart. Press those seams together. Do not use a pin. Oh, my seams don't want to press together, but I'm going to make them. All right, you do not want to use a pin because you then may puncture it, and when you might miss a spot when you're waterproofing. And it's a plant cozy, so we're going to put a plant in there later. So you definitely want to make sure that it's as waterproofed as possible. So I'm just going to use a clip to hold this together. And again, I'm going to stitch the 1/2 inch seam allowance right here, which I've already done on this side to show you. And you will again trim that to a 1/4 inch. All right, so on both sides you can trim that. Now once you've trimmed that lining piece, we can then go ahead and waterproof. So we've just used 100% silicone. You can purchase that in any home improvement section. You're going to take the top off, and you are going to just squeeze out that silicone right along here. You can squeeze it out right along the bottom. Again on the side, and don't forget to get these edges. You want to make sure you waterproof this edge here and this edge on this side. And then you just want to refer to the directions on your silicone so you know how long you need to wait for that to dry. Next, I'm going to put my lining inside of my plant cozy. First thing I need to do is turn my plant cozy right side out. And that's very simple. I'm just going to pull it. Here it is. And now I'm ready to put my lining inside. You want to keep your lining as is, so it's the wrong side out. And you just want to line your seams up and put those together and push it inside. Lining your seams up just makes it easier kind of to connect. All right, once your edges and your seams are all lined up, you can go ahead and roll it down a 1/2 inch. And then you're just going to use clips all along the edges to clip that 1/2 inch down. And that's going to look something like this. So I've rolled that down 1/2 inch, I've used my clips, You're then going to want to make sure that you match your bobbin to your thread, because you're going to add a decorative stitch along the edges right here of the plant cozy. Once that decorative stitch is finished, you are done and you have a finished plant cozy. But I want to show you one more thing before I finish. I have folded that top part down even more because the plant I have inside my plant cozy is smaller than its original height, which is great because that means that this plant cozy is multifunctioning, and that's always a good thing. Now, trying to roll it back down with one hand is really difficult, so I don't know if you want to go ahead and do that, but you'll be able to do that with both hands if you set it on the countertop. So I'm just going to roll that down so it fits this plant, and now you have a great little plant cozy for all of your plants.